Hello and welcome back to Pure on the Road. I'm Sam Marasini back at TechFest 2022 in the main tent, and I found Sean Roseburn, who's part of our new technologies, right?
Emerging technology solutions.
Emerging technology solutions.
That's right.
And by the way, this door just opened behind us, and it's a huge Portworx pavilion out there.
Absolutely.
That's a big part of those emerging technologies. What's happening with Portworx?
Well, let's break it down here, right? We're talking about modern applications and modern analytics.
Okay.
Right? We spent a lot of time today talking about the explosion of data.
Yes.
We talked about customers trying to figure out, how do I ingest more? How do I increase performance? But more importantly, when I want to move these things across clouds, across infrastructure, how do I containerize them? And then how do I manage all the data services across that containerization? Enter FlashBlade, now a new member of the family, FlashBlade S.
FlashBlade S, we're going to talk more about that in a second.
And Portworx.
And Portworx.
Right? And not just Portworx, but Portworx Data Services, allowing customers to fundamentally have fully managed, fully deployed database across all their modern applications in any cloud.
So I love that, because what we're doing is taking what Portworx had been doing so wonderfully, and we added Portworx Data Services to it, and really taking it down to an application layer. So now database as a service changes a lot and can change the way that our customers deploy databases internal to their organization.
Oh, absolutely, because ultimately every application has to have a database.
Yes.
Whether it's a key store, whether it's a search, whether it's a database as we look at it traditionally, all applications need somewhere to store data. And the problem's been, I go into the cloud, I buy a cloud-based database distribution, be it Mongo, be it something else, I deploy it, and my database is there. But if I'm not careful, I end up in the same scenario I was with some legacy database vendors, where my stored procedures and my custom development now prevents me from being able to move those applications between clouds. But if I can disaggregate the database from the operating environment, and I can allow the data to migrate and move and be secured with a common set of services, boom, now I'm cooking with gas.
Now you have the flexibility of moving. You're not locked into an infrastructure or into a database platform. It expands, and it's more than just databases from Portworx Data Services point of view, right?
Well, today we're starting with databases. We're going to look at driving more and more applications. Today, I believe we're supporting 8 different database distributions out of the box. But let's be clear, these are database distributions that run on any cloud instance and any on-prem infrastructure. This is big. Let me repeat that.
Yeah.
Any cloud, and more importantly, remember we're Pure Storage, but we're still supporting any infrastructure, any storage.
That's big, and that's a big part of Portworx in general, to support the container-based applications, bring that consistent capabilities to them, and make sure they have the persistent data to do enterprise features for what maybe was originally designed. It's just a one-off application that have grown in the organization.
You're right, and I want to just be clear for all of you out there that are talking to storage people, containers isn't always a big challenge for storage people, because you know the way they solve it? They just carve off 1 mega volume, and they give it to the DevOps team.
Here you go, have fun.
Here's 50
whatever you want.
terabytes. Go nuts. Problem is, the DevOps team now wants to go use that, and every time they're building the application, they got to figure out what services to use. And if the storage team decides to move a piece of that volume or change the volume up in the infrastructure it's on, and the CSI gets interrupted, now there's a bunch of data services that are no longer compatible, and developers can't write code, and the CI/CD pipeline goes completely downhill.
It makes sense, and that's what Portworx is doing to change that. And we talked about that on the main stage.
We did.
Right?
We did.
We also talked about that thing you mentioned before.
Well, let's talk about the main stage. Comcast was up there, right?
Yes,
Remember, this is
yes,
Comcast.
That's right.
53 million customers who rely on their video services.
Yeah, and I know some of those subsets that they talk
about. And all the instrumentation for all their video on demand is built in containers. And you can imagine the size of this environment, and there was no way for them to manage a consistent set of data services across all of this.
Right.
Enter Portworx. Not only did we save them a ton of money and drive efficiency on the core project, it actually gave them enough support from their executive team to roll that project across the rest of their environment.
And what I got most out of that explanation from Comcast was, 1% of that 53 million, which is a lot of people if something goes down. So they're going for as much availability as they can possibly get, and that's what they're getting through the Portworx.
Absolutely.
platform.
If your kids are anything like mine, if your streaming goes down,
they are.
This is like a Sev 1 in my house. Streaming can't go down.
This is true.
So the quicker Comcast knows that my service is down, the quicker they can fix it, which means the quicker I can go back to not parenting.
I get it, and so some of the times when I'm looking for my children and I can't find them, I just disable some Wi-Fi and I know where they are right away. Because immediately I hear, Dad, follow the screams. There they are. Okay, plug it back in. I know that where they are. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. But I know where they are. That's awesome. All right, FlashBlade. So FlashBlade S. This has been a long time in coming. It is huge.
It is. And remember, right, let's keep things in perspective. The first general availability of FlashBlade for Pure was in 2017. We're now in 2022.
Yes.
We've been in this business for 5 years.
Yep.
But we sold over $1 billion worth of FlashBlade. There's not a lot of storage companies on the planet that have generated $1 billion of revenue in 5 years. 5 years of GA.
Okay.
But remember, we built this for AI, we built this for analytics, we built it for ML. Let's be really clear, this is unified fast file and object. This is not cheap and deep object, this is not cheap and deep file, this is not general purpose file shares.
Yeah.
This is customers driving towards modern analytics. Might be healthcare for enterprise imaging, might be simulations, might be log analytics, might be streaming analytics, might even be rapid restore from ransomware.
Right.
But the reality was, as we gave our customers this power to unleash this massive amount of unstructured data, they took it and they ran with it. But now they asked us for more. They asked us for more power, they asked us for more scale, but more importantly, if we look at one of the largest reference customers in the world, Meta, they asked for more energy efficiency. They asked us to go denser and denser and denser in terms of what we could drive, in terms of a power footprint, so that they could scale without killing the planet.
It's amazing when you think how important those ESG reports have become, and it's been a focus of Charlie's and our executive team for quite some time, because environmental is huge. And when you think about what Evergreen's done for us, good segue by the way, right? When you think about what Evergreen's done, it's changed not just storage, but the way that our customers are leveraging the infrastructure and not cluttering landfills, quite honestly.
Oh yeah.
It changes everything.
I thought it was great this morning when Charlie said that the difference between disk and flash was 10 times the performance. Right? Think about that for a minute. 10 times the performance at 10% of the energy cost. Like, this is logarithmic in terms of its impact.
Absolutely.
Right? And I mean, a few years ago, I guess energy was cheaper than it was now. And if there's anything we've learned through the years, is when something goes up, it very rarely ever comes back down. So we're now going to be living with higher energy costs. But more importantly, we have a finite amount of energy in the world, which will at some point soon, limit the amount of analysis, the amount of data that we can unlock.
Another thing that I love that Charlie said recently, and it was in our earnings call, where they were talking about supply chain, right? And one of the reasons why we've been able to continue to grow our numbers is the fact that we're not completely replacing our customers' environments every 3 years. We're not. In our Evergreen fashion, we're able to take what they had been using, make it new without needing to replace it, to put it in a landfill or put it someplace else and bring it back, which is what our competition's doing with traditional SSDs, right?
Well, that's what the industry's done forever.
It is, right? Yeah.
I mean, look, I was talking to an owner of, let's just say, the largest brand of electric cars around the world, and they told me how cool it was to wake up every day and have a new car. And I asked them what that meant. And they said, every day I wake up and I fire up the little tablet, the little screen.
Sure.
The other week I found out I have heated seats. Never had them before.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Right? Now all of a sudden heated seats show up on the dash.
I definitely knew this.
It's like, did a bunch of Keebler elves arrive overnight and put a bunch of components into the car and turn it on? No, that's the way they built it. It's the same thing with the way we are here at Pure. Every time we release a new version of Purity, our customers have access to all the software. Everything works on their current hardware. And I think, what's the stat there? I think customers, 60-70% of the arrays we sold 9 years ago are still in place?
It was more than that. Well, 6 years ago it was in the 96th percentile. Yeah. So it's amazing how many of those arrays, and we're working on a decade. In fact, I know we're working on a customer that's been running the same array for a decade. Much more on that to come soon.
So this is a big fundamental piece of FlashBlade//S. Right? We've fundamentally said that we've built the product as the last unstructured data solution you ever have to buy, built with an architecture to scale a decade. Now, you could think, wow, how prescient of Pure to be able to run an architecture that lasts a decade. But the point was, we were able to disaggregate every single component. We were able to think ahead in terms of what innovation may come down the road, and how do we ensure that we can fundamentally unlock that innovation inside the same chassis we're shipping. And that applies to the density of DFMs, or as some people would call it, density of storage or hard drives. We call them direct flash modules.
Yep.
That talks about the network connectivity. That talks about the chipsets and the chips that actually are on the blades. All of that being completely disaggregated so the chassis lasts a decade.
That's the goal, and it could go beyond that. That's what we're after in that context. Now, you mentioned the DFMs, the direct flash modules. One of the things we've done behind the scenes, part of the Evergreen process, right? And we introduced something new called Evergreen Flex, which takes advantage of the fact that, from an engineering point of view, we're leveraging not only similar components, but the same components across some products, right?
Yeah, well, this is a big deal for us. Look, QLC, right, we're talking about quad layer core, we're talking about flash that can be written on 4 sides.
Yep.
And just for those of you who are following along, trying to figure this whole thing out, we went from single layer core to dual level core to multi-layer core. We're now in quad layer core, right? And in doing so, what we're now doing is writing on 4 sides of this flash module, writing on 4 sides of the cell. The reason this matters to anybody is density.
Absolutely, it's density.
Because it's the same cell.
Yep.
consuming the same amount of power, except now instead of writing on one side, I can write on 4 sides. And as I can continue to add sides, I can continue to add density
sides
at the
and
same
layers, and you name
power
it.
footprint,
Absolutely.
which essentially makes me more and more efficient. The problem is, QLC is a little volatile. It's a little difficult to use, right? The cells tend to kind of drop in and out in terms of their charge. The good news is we have a little bit of experience with Flash, right?
Yeah, we do. Yes, we've gone through this with each of those generations that you talked.
We have. So 2 years ago, roughly, when we brought out FlashArray C, we brought it out with QLC and then brought QLC to the product itself. You got a lot of experience rolling it out, right? I don't know how many, exabytes, yottabytes of FlashArray C are now out there, but the reality is we have a lot of experience with C. So now with FlashBlade, we've brought C to performance workloads. Now think about this, it's really interesting because C is
capacity, right?
It's supposed to be cheap. It's supposed to be cheaper Flash. So what are you doing running performance on it? Well, we're pretty good.
It's still Flash,
but we're pretty good at running software and writing software to really harness the full power of Flash. And I would just ask you to really think about the fact that, we're the only company that fundamentally controls all the software down to the bit. All of our competitors are using SSDs, are using essentially Flash put inside a hard drive cage, put inside a hard drive tray, put inside a server, put inside a storage array. We're writing to the Flash itself. We own all the software, so as we need to tune, as we need to change, as we need to look at the way every bit is interacting, we own that entire custody of how that data is being transmitted, and that is the secret sauce to Pure. I mean, we ultimately know how to build incredibly good storage software, and it's giving us a huge advantage today with DirectFlash, where today we're shipping 48 terabyte QLC drives.
Nice.
The industry's stuck at 30. By the way, we're not limited by what the industry's offering.
We're not, because of the way that we're engineering these things.
That's right.
We're using raw NAND.
Raw NAND.
That's the key, right? For so long, our competitors looked at us and said, oh, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? They didn't get what we were doing. They didn't understand how we were integrating the software with the hardware to make this better for consumers, our customers, and to get it to them faster.
Exactly. So now as I get to QLC, now I'm writing on 4 sides instead of 3.
Right.
Now I'm writing on 48 terabytes instead of 30.
Yes.
In the same energy footprint.
Yep.
Think about that. What that does is it drives a density and power equation that cannot be matched. And like I said earlier, I mean, Meta saw the power of that, and that's almost the main reason why they went with our platform, was this concept of power per watt, right? Or processing I/O per watt. How much can I really get in? When you look at 1.3 terabytes per watt, that's massive, insane. 1.3 terabytes per watt. When you look at where our competitors measure up inside a rack, they can't even come close.
That's huge. It is. Now, all right, you started, and we've been going for a while here, so I want to get back.
Let's talk about Flex. Let's talk about Flex.
Let's talk about Flex for a second, because that's where we started, and then we got onto the C, right? So when you look at FlashArray C, you're looking for block storage primarily, and then we talked about FlashBlade S, file and object, UFFO, which we talked about. Two different things, right? 2 different use cases, 2 different customer cases.
That's right.
And in a lot of cases, customers have purchased arrays for each of those things.
That's right.
And what happens if, you purchased one, but you need to deploy on the other scenario?
Well, that's the key. Like, let's just take a step back. In the cloud, if I buy a bunch of storage and I no longer need it, I just turn it off.
That's right, right? Cloud, yep,
and
easy.
The cloud doesn't charge me for that. They don't tell me, they'll just charge me for the last bit of block I use, and I can move it over here, and if I wanted slow block, slow file, fast object, slow object, doesn't matter. The cloud is very flexible, right? It allows me to turn on and turn off. In the storage world, we've always been limited by, you bought this box, that's what that box can offer. I can't really take the box back. So we've ended up with these silos of storage, where we have headroom on the file, but we need more block.
Right.
Well, I can't just spin up file. So then we've tried to build these unified solutions, which have all been, essentially not delivered at the full end of where our customers are. So enter Pure as a Service Flex, or what we're now calling Evergreen One Flex, or Evergreen Flex, which now says as a client, sign up for what you need. And if your requirements change, we'll move you between platforms. We'll move you between platforms, leveraging our experience in non-disruptive upgrade.
So move you from one platform to another platform.
We'll move your data, or we'll move your subscription. We'll actually change on the fly between block and file, block and object, C and FB. Now you might think I'm crazy. How can we do this?
I think you are crazy. How are we going to do this?
Well, I just want to tell everybody, though, to be really clear, nobody else has non-disruptive upgrades. Nobody else has the ability to move all this data seamlessly. We've been doing it for our entire history.
Right.
And so bringing Flex to the forefront is very, very valuable for our customers. And we do see, by the way, in modern analytics, a lot of clients who are starting on block, They may move to file, they may move to object, they have a single namespace, they go to multi-namespaces. They're building new apps. They don't know everything up front.
Yep.
These aren't predictable Oracle SQL things. These are new apps.
Business is predictable, right? Other than it's going to grow. That's the predictability.
So if you're sitting out there, you're like, oh, how the heck do they do this? Well, Sam talked earlier about common components. One of the common components there is the QLC drive.
So hold on a second. There is a FlashArray-C right here, and there's a FlashBlade-S back here. So you're telling me that we can move things between those?
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm just gonna, I'll need some VMware layer or something like that, won't I?
No.
No.
I'm gonna pick up the hard drive and I'm gonna move it over.
We're gonna do it right now?
Yeah.
We're gonna do it right now?
Yeah.
All right, so what I'm gonna try to do is move you guys around. Let's go over and visit this FlashArray-C, where Adrian Samaze is waiting for us.
Hey.
He has been. So here's what we're gonna, this is a C, right?
This is a C.
All right, can we take the bezel off of this sucker?
We can.
And now Adrian is a fully trained systems engineer,
He's
so please
fully
don't try
trained.
to
He's not mic'd either because we don't know if he's.
You heard Kaz talk about simple earlier today. We're going to show you how simple this really is.
It's me and a 7-year-old kid.
That's it. All right, so I take some of the modules out of this thing.
Okay.
These are the flash modules. So what is this that you're pulling?
Real easy. DFM, so that's a...
Well, that's a hard drive, right?
This, well, it's kind of sort of. Yeah, no, it's not. And this is what you were talking about earlier, Sean. This is the raw NAND that we've engineered to slide directly into these chassis. So if you were a customer, what you do is evacuate one of your storage groups. If there was data on it, the data would move seamlessly to the other location.
Hold on, there's 48 terabytes on that?
Yeah.
But it's so small.
It is.
How do you do that?
Again, you talked before about writing all 4 layers to that stuff there, didn't you?
But I need people to understand, that's it. That's 48 terabytes. Show me a drive tray that has a drive that small with 48 terabytes on it.
And we can grab multiple. You'd evacuate it, so maybe there'd be 4 in the RAID group or whatever. Let's just take one because I want to, well, take 2 of them, doesn't matter. Could you take it out of the other RAID? You can't do that, can you?
Sure, I can take as many as I want out of here. Let's give it time to rebuild.
All right, so we're going to make our way over to the FlashBlade-S. We have the big unveiling here this morning, and what we're going to do is move this module and put it into FlashBlade. Well, number one, right? Yeah, you got to show me that bezel first off. First off, I want to see that bezel. That bezel is as pretty as it gets right there. I'm also up. So this is the entire blade, which is even cooler. And what you'll notice is the back end of there where we're sliding this into. So this blade, Sean, tell me about this.
Yeah, so when we talked about disaggregation earlier, right? It's really important to know.
Back up here, sorry.
Right, as we break this down, you got your DFMs over here. We talked about those. That's where our storage is going to go. You can see over here, right? This is our compute with our memory. So wait a second. Are you saying that ultimately I can scale everything independently? Yes. Remember, this chassis was built for 10 years. It's built for a decade. So what that means is everything has been designed to be flexible. Everything is designed to be upgraded. Everything has been designed to stay evergreen, just like everything else we've ever built. So fundamentally, each one of these blades, and you get 10 of them, can hold 4 DFMs. Today, up to 48 terabytes. That's 2.3 petabytes in 5U.
That's huge.
2.3 petabytes. By the way, those of you following on the math, that is with compression, right? But 2.3 petabytes in 5U, I don't know. I think we're setting ourselves up for our customers to be able to really activate a ton of data.
All right, I'm not trained. Adrian?
So that's the drive from the C.
This is the drive from the C.
We're going to put it in the. We're going to put it in the S.
So first, we're going to take this out. I guess what we need to do is evacuate and get one of these out of here.
Yes.
But I'll let you.
Sam. Yep. See, even Sam, you can.
Hey, but I can do it. Even I can do it. Oh, I can do that.
There we go.
So I take a couple of these out. I won't get crazy. Take a couple of these out. But more important, can I?
Sure.
This came out of the FlashArray-C, and we are going to put this sucker in, well, not like that. I guess I'm not trained as well as I should be.
There you go.
Right there. We're in.
Boom.
Right?
Boom. So shared components, common components, not just allow us for a better support model and a better experience for our customers, and even customers who want to, look at the flexibility that they can unlock, but you look at Evergreen One, you look at Evergreen Flex, the ability for customers to really have the flexibility to grow with Pure. Start it on block, move it to file, move it to object, all as a subscription, all on a consumption basis. I don't think anybody else is offering that.
Nobody else can. No, I do want to touch on one thing, because we move the hardware, right, which from one to the other. Flex gives you the ability to move the subscription as well.
Absolutely.
So what we're doing is covering the software subscription and balancing that between both of these arrays, which is amazing. Giving you the other Evergreen feature for FlashBlade and FlashArray. So cool.
It's awesome.
It is.
It's Yeah, truly innovative.
Adrian, thank you for your support. That was wonderful.
Happy
Sean,
to be here.
thanks for your time, buddy.
Thank you.
I absolutely appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the subscribe button down there below. So much more coming from Tech Fest 22. This is cool. The band's getting set up behind us back there. I think the beer bash starts soon.
Yeah.
And there's more products here, more stuff, and solutions pavilions, and tents, and partners, and tattoos. Did you get one?
I'm gonna go get a tattoo.
All right,
I might
we're getting
write my
tattoos.
name on the wall. Who knows?
We're getting tattoos. Thanks for watching.